What's up, fellow Mountaineer Nation Fantasy Baseball players? So I thought I'd do a podcast since we haven't been doing any hardly league posts at all this year. And I know everyone's been busy, but there's such a tight playoff race, and it's been such an interesting year, a ton of trades. So I just thought I'd do a podcast to give some of my thoughts about what's going on. So first off, I just recently updated the resumes for each team in the divisional roto breakdown, and this is actually the first week all season I think that East is finally overtaking the Central for the best overall roto division, and West is still far behind. But so check those out. Check out your resumes. I thought I'd go ahead and list off what each team did this past week, so you get a good idea, because this past week was a 10-day week, and so that gives you a better idea of what actually you've been doing recently. So Chop should have went 8-3, 8-2. Minion should have went 4-6. Phil should have went 5-5. Pirate should have went 6-4. Miggy should have went 7-2-1. Bucked should have went 5-5. Axe should have went 2-8. New Year, New Team should have went 3-6-1. Best should have went 6-3-1. Three River Mountaineers should have went 6-2-2. Fingers should have went 0-10. And Smoke should have went 5-4-1. So that just gives you an idea of what each team should have did this past week going into this week. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and look at the standings right now and just how close this race really is for the last two wildcard spots. And even the East Division is still up for grabs. Currently, it looks like Meggie is probably going to win the Central unless I have a collapse right down the stretch. Three River Mountaineers, you can already go ahead and lock up. He's got the West. So those two wildcard teams you're going to assume get a bye. Now, look, with Chops getting a huge win last week, going 9-1, almost a perfect game. Moved him up, and now he's got a 4.5 game lead in the East, which is a decent lead, but since he still has to play both Pirates and Phils, who are both 4.5 games behind him, if one of them can get a big win against him, then that could really flip the tide in that division. But right now, he's got a decent edge. I would say about maybe 70% chance of holding on to the division, but we'll see. There's still 4 weeks left. Now then, looking at the wild card race currently, with Pirates getting a big win this week, 7-3 over Axe, who was a team that's now kind of been pushed back a little bit in the playoff race. Pirates and Fighting Phils have both currently got the 2 wild card spots. So, as you saw in the poll that I put last week, that did I think East and Central or both Central teams would make the wild card? Right now, it's both East, and it was a pretty even vote before they're out because a lot of the teams are fairly even. From Pirates and Phils, there's a 1.5 game drop off to New Year, New Team, and a 1.5 game drop off to You Just Got Bucked. 1.5 games with 4 weeks left is absolutely nothing, really. So it'll just become, how clutch you are down the stretch. Battle Axe is now 3 games behind Bucked and New Team, so that's a total of 4.5 back of a wild card spot currently. So, and this week is very key because there's a key matchup between Fighting Phils and Battle Axe this week. So that's a big key for Battle Axe. If he can't beat Phils and start gaining some ground on the wild card spot, it's probably going to be all she wrote for him. He's going to definitely need at least a 6-4, but he would need probably a good 7-3 win to really jump him back up into that race, because it's going to having to play both Buck, New Year, New Team, and my team in the final 3 weeks is going to be tough. So he really needs a big win this week if he wants to have hopes of getting that wild card spot. And then on to the West, you have Smoke, Preserves and Best, and Fingers, who all just haven't had, Fingers especially hasn't had a good year, but Best and Smoke, they just, they just kind of been muttering along, not too great. And then, this year there's been so many trades, I'm just beyond surprised. There's been trades in the past, but there's teams that are legitly playing for the future and playing for now. The ultimate one was Kershaw Minions and Fighting Phils. Fighting Phils got Wainwright, which just absolutely bumped his team and is really going to make him a strong push for these playoffs. And potentially once he gets into the playoffs, go and make a run at it. And then you have Kershaw Minions who got Harvey out of that trade, who, he's coming Tommy John, but he's younger and he's more future. That's what Kershaw Minions is really vamped up the trade market, trying to go all young, selling out this year. because he would have had a tough road trying to make it back. But I mean, this just shows you how much parity there is in this league, because I mean, he went Minion's very first year was a terrible team. The past 2 years he made the playoffs. He's been one of the solid teams, and then he's already dropped back down again, and then now he's rebuilding for the future. Fighting Phils hasn't ever made the playoffs, and right now he has the current wild card spot. Pittsburgh Pirates has been the first 3 years he's been in the bottom of the league, and then he's had a good year. Same with New Year, new team. He was good. He'd always been that borderline team the first 2 years, and then last year he had a terrible year. And then maybe not always keeping all 10 keepers is the key, because New Year, new team and Pirates, they only kept 4 last year, and then that draft. Right now, they're right in the hunt. I mean, you couldn't expect them to become the absolute elite from the bottom, but, they're right in the hunt. So, that's key. So, I want to go and look at each team individually a little bit in the wild card race, just kind of talk about their team a little bit, as, just talk about the team a little bit. So, the first thing I'm quickly going to talk, even though Chops is probably going to get at least a wild card, but probably win the division, I'll quickly talk about his team. Computer's being a little slow. Alright. So far this year, his batting hasn't been up to par. He has some injuries at times, and he's made a few trades, but like getting Corey Dickerson off the waivers has been really good for him, and the trade he made for Kemp to get Adrian Gonzalez and Cespedes has worked out well for him. But Kipnis had been hurt for a while, so that really hurt him. But his pitching has really been solid. It's either the best or barely behind the best of the league right now, and his pitching's just been really solid, and his batting's decent, and so. Man, there's not a lot there. He's trying. The one thing that I will say about this team that hurts him come playoff time is he's not got. I see he's added some closers for the potential, but as of right now, he only has legit one closer, so that's almost a loss he's going to count out each week, especially with my team and Bond's team having a lot of closers right now. So that'll hurt him, but he's last week he killed the roto, and he really jumped up in the roto. He was second, but he jumped up in the number of roto he got. So his team's coming on strong, and it's going to be a tough beat. Next one we'll look at Fighting Phils. All right, so looking at his team. Anthony Rizzo's had an absolutely great year for him. He's came on really strong. He had Mark Trumbull hurt for a while, but he's back, so that should help give him a boost. Nelson Cruz has had a great year. Overall, his batting hasn't been what carried him. He's had decent batting, but he also had Hanley Monroe has been pretty good. And I saw that he had Chris Bryant probably going for a future keeper there. But his pitching, oh man, if he wouldn't have lost Jose Fernandez, his pitching would have been so sick. I mean, he's got Yu Darvish and Matt Lotos have been solid. And now he had Adam Wainwright, so that really boosted up. He's got a few closers, not too bad. Not with the elites, but he can he could beat Ryan in closers if he played him. But he's also got Sonny Gray, Hung Jin Roo's been solid. Jake Arrieta's had a great year. His pitching staff's been very, very great. And so that's what's carried him so far. So he'll need to keep relying on that and getting a decent amount of bats, and he could make the playoffs. Next, we'll look at Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, I mean, this is definitely the most surprised team I thought this year. I mean, he's actually got one of the best pitching staffs in the league, and for the longest time he wasn't keeping pitchers. But we'll look at his team and just see who's been doing so good. I mean, he's at R.A. Dickey's not been too bad. Jared Weaver's had a bounce back here. He's been good. Mark Burley's been getting a ton of wins this year. Phil Hughes hasn't been bad. Jason Hamill's been solid. He's got a few closers. Bartolo Colon's been decent. I mean, overall, it's not super studded, but he's just been getting solid production across the board. And the main key that he hasn't had is he doesn't have any of those blow-up pitchers that, he doesn't always try to max out his, 12 starts a week, which, sometimes that's going to hurt him in Ks, but, he has a pretty solid ERA and whip a lot of times, and so that really helps him. But the one thing that he has shot up this year really is in batting too, because Ian Desmond's been great. I mean, he's had Edwin Carcion, who's hurt right now, but he's been super solid this year. He started off slow but got hurt. Picking up Charlie Blackmon has really helped out this team. David Ortiz, that we picked up when he was setting up to his 10 keepers, has been great. You know, he has Jacoby Ellsbury and some others. So, and even Chase Utley, he's older, but he's actually had a pretty decent year for how old he is. And Jonathan Corey's always been one of the better catchers. So this team's just been overall solid, and you know, he's gonna be someone to reckon with, at least for the teams trying to get into the playoffs. He's gonna be tough to beat out. I mean, he had another good roto week last week, so it'll be tough. Next year, I'll look at New Year, New Team. Look at this team. He's made a lot of trades, so it's went in and out. And what he's got, I mean, he has Ian Kinsler, who's been solid. He's got Jose Bautista, who's had a great year, a lot of power. Victor Martinez, I really didn't expect him to be quite this good, but yeah, he's been really good this year. What's really hurt him though is he has Joey Votto and Yadier Molina on the DL. So and this past week he kind of fell off a little bit on Roto. So hopefully he can bounce back. I mean, those injuries kind of hurt him some, but he's only a game and a half back, so he's still got time. But he's just gonna hit him. I mean, there's a few teams that aren't playing. They're playing some of the low West teams this week. So they'll be key to get big wins this week, because once we get into division play with the East beating up on each other and the West beating up on each other, it's going to be so tight that it's probably not going to be big blowout wins. So getting a blowout win this week would be so key. His pitching is actually, he was super solid in pitching, but then he sold some of his pitching off. Plus, Tanaka going the DL really hurt this team, because Tanaka was just killing it. Matt Cain wasn't having that great a year, but he went on the DL. I mean, he has Gio Gonzalez. He has Rick Porcello, who's been good. He's got several closers, so he's pretty solid in closers. But overall, his pitching depth has really got hurt because with Tanaka, and he traded a couple away. So while it used to be a huge strength, it's not quite as much of a strength that it used to be. And with those injuries, some of those trade-offs, while it's helped his batting some, which has gotten better, his pitching has tailed off some. So this team's kind of in flux right now. He's got 4 weeks left, so he's going to have to really put it together a strong finish here. Next, we're going to go to You Just Got Bucked. One player that's been good for him that's cooled off recently, Lonnie Chisenhall was doing really good for him for a while. He's made a couple of trades. You know, his batting overall, he's picked some young people, like he got Gregory Polanco, he traded for Adam Jones. Yasiel Puig's had a great year, but overall his batting is been somewhat inconsistent. But I mean, it's not been too bad. Then looking at his pitching, he's got several closers. Getting Castillo in the pickup definitely helped him get up to 3. So he's one of the better closer teams. Marcus Stroman has been a solid pickup for him in his pitching category. Iwakuma has been good. Ventura he traded for. I mean, overall his pitching isn't that great. I mean, just kind of looking from top to bottom of his lineup, it's a bunch of decentness. I mean, Adam Jones is obviously really good once he made that trade from Carlos Gomez, but I mean, I don't know. It's hard to tell with this team. It's not had anything that, you know, went terribly wrong for it, but it also hasn't had a ton that's like, oh man, he made that pick and it's like worked out great for him. So he's just kind of been muttering along. He's been decent. I mean, he was, you know, back of the pack, but now he's got, you know, raised back and stuff. I mean, he's only a game and a half out, so we'll see how it goes down the stretch. I mean, I could see him making the playoffs. I just don't know if he's got a team to make a deep run as of now. But that's just my thoughts. Anything can happen. And then lastly, we'll look at Battle Axe. Now he's 4.5 out. It's not over. Still 4 weeks left. He can still get a few big wins. Definitely needs a big one this week against Phils if he wants to hope. But so we'll give a quick talk out about his team. I know he's had a couple of people that have really, like, he picked up Michael Brantley this year, who just went off. Like, and who knew Michael Brantley would be this good? But he's been really good. People like Alex Rios have kind of fell off some. Dominic Brown, I think, was his very first pick in the first round of the draft after the 10 keepers, and that's really has hurt him. It hasn't been that good. Um, he's got Pujols has had a bounce back year. That's definitely helped him a lot. Josh Donaldson has been a very solid keeper foundation to this team. So he's got some good pieces, but he's also got some. There's a few holes here. Daniel Murphy's actually been pretty solid this year too. But he's got a few holes here and there that overall haven't kept his batting completely solid. But he definitely has some studs that have been carrying him. I mean, he's got Felix, who's just the absolute stud that's been carrying his pitching. It kind of hurt him though, is he had closers and he lost them because he has Roman Chapman, which is solid. Sergio Romo lost his job, and Joe Kinsori went to Detroit, and it looks like he lost his job, so he's now down to one closer, which really hurts his team as far as winning saves every week. I mean, he's still got John Lester, Dylan Gee's good, Mike Garza has been okay. Quintana was a good pickup, I'll give him that, and that was definitely a good pitching pickup, and so overall he's got an average pitching staff, but losing the closers really hurt because that's going to be one that he's probably going to lose every week. So he's really going to have his bat show up, or he's probably not going to be able to make up that 4.5 games. So overall, it's a really tight race. I mean, if I had to predict right now, I don't think Battle Axe has enough left in the tank to catch up and get in the playoffs. As of right now, I don't think Buck quite has the team. Not yet. I think his team is really on the fringe. I don't know if he can make it, but it's possible. I could see New Year, new team maybe, but he, like I said, he's had some injuries to his pitching staff that doesn't, unless Tanaka comes back, which I don't think he is, it's really going to be hard. So I would kind of have to lean with consensus what ended up picking the Pirates and Phils, which right now, if you look at the top 5 in row, the top 5 current teams that would make the playoffs are the 5 teams that, are in the playoffs of the top 5 roto. So that that shows that at least it's how it should be as of right now. Anything can happen though. Pirates, and one edge that Pirates and Phils have over new team and Bucked and even Axe is they got Minions to play. Well, while Minions isn't a walkover by any means because he's got really good pitching, but he's sold himself out for the future, so his team's not quite as solid. Even though playing the other team and Chops is a tough. The other team's got to play the other 2 fighting for a playoff spot, plus me, who right now I'm only 3.5 ahead of Three River Mountaineers for the number 1 seed. So, and we play this week, which could be a potential playoff preview matchup, and so 3.5 games. If I lose 7-3 this week, he would have the number 1 seed. So I'm definitely going to be fighting to the finish, trying to get that 1 seed. And even Tomahawk Chops is only 7. I mean, it was only about 6 games out. So, I mean, he's still, if he has a strong finish, he could still potentially get up into the 1 seed, possibly 2. So, it's an exciting race for 10 teams right now, or 9 teams right now. And, Fingers and Best and Smoke and, Minions are all pretty much flip the page next year. But, they can start setting their minds on keepers. And we only have just to let everyone know that, keeper, our trade deadline is always right before the division play starts. So you have about 6 days left to make a deal if you're going to make a deal. So that would be something for, the 4 teams that are pretty much already out of it, if they want to make any, last minute deals to help push those playoff teams to maybe get a solid keeper for the future. So I hope all of you enjoyed this podcast. Please post any of the comments that you have about the podcast, or just any, about the playoff race in general. I'd just like to hear feedback. It makes me, maybe you could give me an idea of something I could do in a podcast in the future. I'm going to be busy here soon, but I enjoy doing this, and if I get more feedback, I'm more apt to do it again. And, I'll take questions, comments, whatever. It just makes it more entertaining. So good luck to all, and I'll see you guys later.